Nearly 4 decades after 227 brought laughter and heartfelt moments to audiences, the lives of its cast have taken unexpected turns. Once shining in the spotlight, some faced tragic accidents that altered their paths, while others quietly stepped away from Hollywood's fast-paced world. From personal struggles to inspiring comebacks, their journeys are filled with resilience, loss, and reinvention. As we enter 2025, where are they now? Join us in uncovering the untold stories of the stars who made 227 a beloved classic. Proof that fame may fade, but legacies endure. Marla Gibbs, who portrayed the beloved Mary Jenkins in 227 from 1985 to 1990, was 54 when she took on the role of the witty and fiercely protective matriarch. Gibbs infused Mary with warmth and sharp humor, making her a memorable cornerstone of the show's tight-knit community. However, behind the scenes, Marla's personal life was marked by hardship. She was married twice, first to Sherman Gibbs, with whom she had 2 children, Shermaine and Sherman Jr., but their marriage dissolved amidst financial struggles and constant touring demands. Her second marriage ended quietly and without children, leaving her feeling isolated during long stretches of filming. Tragedy struck when her daughter Shermaine battled a chronic illness, placing a heavy emotional burden on Marla. Despite these difficulties, she persevered, dedicating herself to advocacy for health awareness. Now at 93, Marla lives modestly in Los Angeles, still passionate about her craft though slowed by age and arthritis. Her estate is modest, valued at approximately $1.5 million, reflecting decades of steady but never blockbuster success. She is remembered fondly by fans and colleagues alike for her resilience and kindness. Elena Reed Hall, best known for her role as Rose Holloway in 227 at age 39, brought intelligence, grace, and a quietly commanding presence to the character of the determined single mother and community leader. Reed Hall's career after 227 faltered, as offers dwindled and personal struggles grew. She married twice, first to actor Jeffrey Reed, with whom she had a son, Jalen, and later to a music producer, which ended in a bitter divorce fueled by infidelity and financial disputes. Her family life was further strained by her son's turbulent teenage years and eventual estrangement. In her later years, Elena faced chronic depression, battling the shadows of fading fame and fractured relationships. She died tragically at 63 on December 17, 2009, from complications related to untreated heart disease exacerbated by stress. Her death shocked the 227 community, revealing the hidden toll of her struggles. Her estate was estimated at around $800,000, much of which went to cover medical bills and legal fees from family disputes. Despite the sorrow, her legacy endures in the hearts of those inspired by her brief but impactful work. Curtis Baldwin, who first appeared as Calvin Dobbs in 227 at the youthful age of 18, brought an effervescent energy and street-smart charm that captivated audiences. Baldwin's role as the quick-witted, ambitious nephew was a highlight of the show's early years, yet his life off-screen took a complicated path. After 227, Curtis struggled to find acting roles and shifted his focus to music production, channeling his creativity into behind-the-scenes work. His personal life was tumultuous. Curtis married his high school sweetheart, Lisa, with whom he had 3 children, Marcus, Danielle, and Trey. The marriage crumbled under financial pressure, and Curtis's long absences touring for music projects. One of his children, Marcus, battled addiction, causing family pain and multiple hospitalizations. Curtis has also faced legal battles over custody and bankruptcy. Now 57, Curtis lives a quieter life in Atlanta, mentoring young musicians while wrestling with regrets about lost opportunities. His estate is estimated at $500,000, reflecting his modest success in the music industry rather than acting. Despite the hardships, he remains hopeful about rebuilding family ties. Helen Martin was cast as Pearl Shea in 227 at age 76, bringing a unique blend of humor, wisdom, and stubborn charm to the role of the sharp-tongued, lovable neighbor. Martin's portrayal was iconic, adding levity and depth to the series in its later seasons. Yet Helen's life was marked by a series of personal tragedies. She married late in life to Harold Martin, but the union was brief and ended with his early death from cancer. She had no children, and her family relationships were distant and often strained by geographic separation. In her 80s, Helen suffered from deteriorating health, including arthritis and vision loss, which forced her into early retirement from acting. She experienced loneliness and depression in her final years, compounded by the deaths of close friends and fellow cast members. Helen passed away peacefully at 90 on March 25, 2000, leaving behind a legacy of laughter and resilience. Her estate was modest, estimated at $400,000, and she donated much to charities supporting elderly actors. Helen's memory remains vibrant among 227 fans for her unforgettable presence and spirit. Hal Williams, who portrayed Lester Jenkins in 227 from 1985 to 1990, was 46 years old when he took on the role of the steady, hard-working husband and father. His calming presence and quiet strength made Lester a beloved figure in the show. Off-screen, Williams's life was filled with painful contradictions. He married stage actress Marjorie Carter in 1972, and they had 3 children, Daryl, Kendra, and Miles. But the couple divorced bitterly in 1991 after years of conflict over his long absences and infidelity. Following 227, Hal struggled to find meaningful work, often taking minor roles in sitcoms that failed to revive his momentum. A gambling addiction that started during the show spiraled after its end, leading to significant financial troubles. 2 of his children became estranged, and his youngest son, Miles, tragically died from a drug overdose in 2009. Williams moved to a modest apartment in Pasadena and withdrew from public life for years. Though he began speaking at local acting workshops in his 80s, loneliness marked much of his later life. Now 86, he suffers from early-stage dementia and lives under the care of a private nurse. His estate is estimated at $300,000, a sharp contrast to the success he once enjoyed. Regina King was only 14 when she played Brenda Jenkins, the sharp, independent daughter in 227, and her portrayal quickly established her as a young actress with remarkable depth. Despite critical success later in life, including an Oscar and 4 Emmys, King's personal life was tragically complex. She married record producer Ian Bell in 1997. The union produced 1 son, Ian Jr., but ended in 2007 amid reports of emotional abuse and constant conflict. Her son, her greatest joy, took his own life in 2022 at age 26 after years battling depression. The loss shattered King, who withdrew from Hollywood for nearly a year and has since spoken openly about her grief. Relationships with extended family have frayed, and she remains estranged from her sister due to legal disputes over their parents' estate. Though professionally successful, directing high-profile projects and occasionally acting, King now moves quietly through life, often declining interviews and choosing solitude. At 54, she continues therapy and grief support. Her net worth is estimated at $12 million, but she lives modestly in a gated home in Topanga Canyon, surrounded by reminders of her son and the life that might have been. Jackie Harry was 29 when she brought the sultry and quick-witted Sandra Clark to life in 227, turning a supporting role into a fan favorite with her charisma and comedic timing. But behind her glamorous persona was a woman plagued by turmoil. Harry married television producer Elwood Scott in 1984, but their volatile relationship, marred by infidelity and public arguments, ended in a dramatic divorce in 1990. They had 1 son, Franklin, whom she adopted, but their bond was strained, and Franklin has spoken openly about their fractured connection. After 227, Jackie's career faltered. She was typecast as the loud, sexy sidekick and struggled to land meaningful roles. A failed comeback attempt in the early 2000s ended with her checking into rehab for alcohol and prescription medication dependency. She's had multiple health scares, including a mild stroke in 2018. Now 68, she lives alone in Las Vegas, performing occasionally at comedy clubs and relying on social media to connect with fans. Despite moments of joy, loneliness and regret pervade her later years. Her estate is currently estimated at $900,000, much of it tied up in property she can no longer afford to maintain. Barry Sobel, who portrayed Dylan McMillan in 227 at age 30, brought a lively comedic spark to the series with his quick wit and sharp timing. His character was a fan favorite, known for his playful banter and charm. However, Sobel's real life behind the scenes was far less bright. After the show ended, his career struggled to maintain momentum, with few major roles and limited financial success. He married twice. His first marriage ended in a painful divorce after 5 years, and his second union with a fellow comedian dissolved amid growing tensions and infidelities. Sobel fathered 2 children, Maya and Jason, both of whom had strained relationships with him due to his long absences and struggles with alcoholism. Tragically, Sobel suffered from multiple setbacks including a near-fatal car accident, the loss of a sibling, battles with depression, and a brief stint in rehab. Now at 65, he lives a relatively quiet life in a modest home in Los Angeles, working sporadically in stand-up clubs and small TV gigs. His estimated estate is modest, roughly $350,000, reflecting years of ups and downs but marked by a continued passion for comedy despite his personal hardships. Paul Winfield played Julian C. Barlow in 227 at age 46, portraying a dignified and intelligent academic who brought a calm, reflective presence to the series. Off-screen, however, Winfield's life was marked by solitude and hidden struggles. A private man, he never married but had a long-term relationship with architect Charles Gillen Jr., who died in 2002, just 2 years before Winfield's own passing. The loss devastated him, leading to a deep depression. He never had children and became estranged from much of his family after disputes over his sexuality and career. Winfield suffered from complications related to diabetes and obesity in his final years. Though he won acclaim for roles in Sounder and Roots, The Next Generations, his later career dwindled, and he often voiced disappointment at being offered only minor or stereotypical roles. He died of a heart attack on March 7, 2004, at 64, alone in his Los Angeles home. Despite the personal pain and professional stagnation he faced later in life, he was remembered as a trailblazer for black actors in serious roles. His estate, valued at approximately $900,000, was mostly bequeathed to educational foundations and LGBTQ+ charities. Kia Goodwin portrayed Tiffany Holloway in 227 at just 12, imbuing the show with innocence and hope. Yet as the spotlight faded, her career faltered. She faced typecasting and struggled with roles that barely paid the bills. After a short-lived marriage to stage actor Lamar Jones in her late 20s, which ended in a bitter divorce marked by allegations of emotional abuse, she raised their only daughter, Mariah, as a single mother. Her relationship with Mariah grew strained during the girl's teenage years, especially as Kia turned to alcohol during long stretches of unemployment. Her attempts to revive her career through producing low-budget web content met limited success. Though now 51 and still involved in theater workshops and community productions, she remains financially strained and often speaks openly about her battles with anxiety and clinical depression. Living alone in a modest rental in Newark, she survives largely on residuals and occasional guest appearances. Her current estimated estate is approximately $150,000, with few significant assets beyond her car and a small life insurance policy. Countess Vaughn took on the role of Alexandria DeWitt in 227 at 19, infusing the show with vibrant energy and sass. While her comedic chops were undeniable, her off-screen life was riddled with hardship. Vaughn endured a toxic marriage to music producer Joseph Brenson in her early 30s, plagued by infidelity and verbal abuse. The union produced 2 children, Jalen and Sasha, but both children now live primarily with their father following a contentious custody battle. After battling severe weight issues and undergoing multiple plastic surgeries, she suffered vocal cord damage that nearly ended her career. Publicly candid about living with lupus and anxiety, Vaughn withdrew from Hollywood for several years. Though she maintains a social media presence, her mental health struggles, including a suicide attempt in 2018, have deeply affected her relationships. Now 46, she occasionally appears on reality TV but largely survives through sponsored content and speaking engagements. Her estate is estimated at $200,000, much of it tied up in medical debt and legal fees from her divorce and custody proceedings. Whitman Mayo played Elvin Thibodeau in 227 at 56, giving the character a warm, affable charm that audiences adored. Already famous for playing Grady on Sanford and Son, Mayo's later years were defined by disappointment and decline. After his brief stint on 227, roles became scarcer, and Mayo often lamented being remembered only for his catchphrases. Married 3 times, he lost his first wife to cancer and divorced his second amid allegations of infidelity. His third marriage to schoolteacher Helen Burney brought some peace, though they remained childless. He fathered 3 children from his earlier marriages, but his relationship with them was strained due to his absence and past drinking problems. Mayo suffered multiple strokes in the late 1990s and lost much of his speech before his death on May 22, 2001, at 70. Isolated and in financial trouble at the end, he reportedly lived in a modest apartment in Atlanta, relying on old residuals and Social Security. His estate, valued at just under $100,000, was largely left to settle medical debts. Fans mourned a man whose humor masked years of personal sorrow. Gary Grubbs, who portrayed Clarence Howard in 227, was 37 when he brought a grounded, neighborly warmth to the character, a reliable presence with a wry smile and soft-spoken wisdom. Off-screen, however, his life took a more turbulent course. Grubbs married theater director Maureen Lyle in 1981, and they had 2 children, Thomas and Elise. But the marriage unraveled under the weight of Grubbs' long absences and industry disappointments. After 227, he struggled to land prominent roles, often relegated to uncredited cameos and low-budget TV films. The family relocated to Mississippi in the late 1990s, where Grubbs taught acting classes, but the move marked the end of his marriage. Elise battled addiction in her 20s, while Thomas became estranged. A series of minor strokes in his 60s left Grubbs partially paralyzed, forcing him to rely on caretakers and dwindling income. Despite his early promise, he never recaptured the momentum of his 1980s career. Now 75, he lives alone in a modest Gulfport apartment, occasionally mentoring local theater students. His estate is estimated at $200,000, composed mostly of residuals and a small retirement account. Pierino Mascherino, who portrayed Mr. Borden in 227 at 46, lent the building superintendent a dignified European charm and understated wit. Known for his expressive eyes and thick Italian accent, Mascherino gave the character layers of humanity, but the recognition never brought lasting success. After the show, he was typecast into minor ethnic roles, often uncredited or comic relief. A deeply private man, he married costume designer Luisa Ferrero in 1970, and they remained together until his death, though theirs was a strained union marked by long silences and growing resentment. Their only son, Marco, distanced himself from his father, eventually moving to Brazil and cutting off contact. Mascherino battled depression in the 1990s and suffered several breakdowns following his wife's brief institutionalization. Later diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, he became reclusive, relying on a nurse in his final years. He died on June 2, 2017, at age 77, from complications related to pneumonia. His estate was valued at approximately $150,000, with most of it tied up in medical debts and a small Los Angeles bungalow. Leslie Nielsen, who played Max Robbins in 227 at 61, brought his signature deadpan brilliance to the role, injecting comic chaos into the show's rhythm. Best known for his slapstick legacy from Airplane and The Naked Gun, Nielsen's brief stint on 227 was seen as a curious detour in his career. Privately, Nielsen's life was fractured by emotional distance and marital strain. He was married 4 times, his longest and most volatile union being with singer Barbary Earl, whom he wed in 2001. His 2 daughters from an earlier marriage, Maura and Thea, spoke later of his emotional absence, citing a man more invested in his characters than his children. Despite his fame, Nielsen often battled loneliness, especially as friends passed and roles dried up. In 2009, he was diagnosed with pneumonia, and complications from the illness led to his death on November 28, 2010, at the age of 84. Though he left behind a cult following and an indelible legacy in comedy, his final years were marked by quiet regret. His estate was estimated at $1.5 million, divided among his estranged family and charitable causes related to children's literacy. Who is your favorite character from 227? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.